Stop right there. Before you explain one more decision, before you write one more paragraph defending your obedience, before you call one more person to make them comfortable with what God already told you, ask yourself one question. Why do I need them to understand what God already assigned? Because if you need everybody to understand before you obey, you are not walking in assignment yet. You are negotiating for permission. Now, don't misunderstand me. Explanation can be healthy. Clarity is not weakness. Communication is not compromise. There are times when love explains. There are times when leadership explains. There are times when wisdom sits down and brings order, context, and understanding. But compulsive explanation is different. Compulsive explanation is not communication. It is the soul begging for permission while the mouth pretends it is only providing clarity. Some of you are not confused about your assignment. You know exactly what God told you. You know what has been burning in your spirit. You know the thing that keeps returning when the noise gets quiet. You know the direction, the burden, the call, the work, the discipline, the door, the sacrifice. Your problem is not ignorance. Your problem is addiction. You are addicted to being approved before you obey. That is a dangerous addiction because approval is a moving target. Today they will say they understand you, and tomorrow they will ask why you changed. Today they will clap for your courage, and tomorrow they will question your timing. Today they will tell you to follow God, and tomorrow they will panic when following God makes you unavailable to their expectations. If your obedience depends on their agreement, your destiny is in the hands of people who did not design you. Let me tell you something plainly. Every time you defend what God told you to people who were never called to carry it, you shrink the assignment to fit their comfort level. You take something eternal and try to make it acceptable to something temporary. You take a mandate from heaven and edit it for the marketplace. You take divine instruction and run it through the committee of family systems, old friendships, public opinion, insecurity, fear, jealousy, tradition, and the comment section. That is not humility. That is fear dressed in religious language. That is not honor. That is bondage wearing the clothes of kindness. And many people are delayed, not because the devil stopped them, but because they keep stopping at every emotional checkpoint to ask, do you understand me? Are you okay with this? Can I move now? Will you still like me if I obey? Your purpose did not come from the crowd. Your purpose did not come from the marketplace. Your purpose did not come from your family system. Your purpose did not come from your followers, your critics, your classmates, your co-workers, or the people who remember the old version of you. Your purpose came from the manufacturer. And when the manufacturer designs a product, he does not ask the shelf for permission. He does not ask the customer to define the function. He does not ask the marketplace to approve the blueprint. Design comes before demand. Purpose comes before opinion. Assignment comes before applause. You were not created by a vote. You were not formed by consensus. You were not sent here as a suggestion. You were designed with intention, built with capacity, born with responsibility, and placed in time with an assignment that does not need human permission to be legitimate. People can confirm what God said, but they cannot create what God ordained. People can counsel you, but they cannot become your creator. People can walk with you, but they cannot own the call. So the question is not, do they understand? The question is, did God speak? The question is not, will they approve? The question is, will I obey? Because obedience delayed by the need to be understood is still disobedience wrapped in explanation. If this teaching is already confronting the place where you have been seeking permission, stay with it. Do not run from the correction. Receive it. Let it break the addiction to applause. Let it expose the fear underneath your explanations. Let God rebuild your confidence in the assignment until you can move without begging the crowd to bless what heaven already commissioned. And if that is the truth you are choosing to live out, comment. I will obey the assignment without begging for permission. Not because you are arrogant, not because you are rebellious, not because you despise wisdom, But because you finally understand that a God-given assignment does not become real when people approve it, it becomes fruitful when you obey it. You have to come back to identity, because assignment cannot be understood properly until identity is settled. If you do not know who you are, you will keep asking people what you are allowed to become. If you do not know who sent you, you will keep asking people whether you can go. If you do not know what is written in your design, you will live your whole life being edited by people who only met you in one chapter. You are not an accident. You are not a reaction. You are not a public survey. You are not the result of everybody's preference, everybody's comfort, everybody's fear, and everybody's interpretation. You were designed before you were discussed. You were purposed before you were criticized. You were assigned before you were misunderstood. Before they had an opinion, God had an intention. Before they had a comment, God had a blueprint. Before they knew your name, heaven knew your function. That is why you must be careful when you let people name you. Because whoever you allow to name you, you often allow to limit you. If they call you difficult, you start shrinking your conviction. If they call you strange, you start hiding your difference. If they call you too much, you start reducing your capacity. If they call you not enough, you start performing for acceptance. And if you are not careful, you will spend your life proving yourself to people who never had the authority to define you in the first place. Let me tell you something about the manufacturer. When a manufacturer creates a product, the purpose is built into it before the customer ever touches it. The customer may use it, the customer may review it, the customer may complain about it, the customer may misunderstand it. But the customer does not create the purpose. The purpose is not discovered in the opinion of the user. The purpose is determined in the mind of the maker. A phone does not become a phone because somebody likes it. A chair does not become a chair because somebody approves it. A key does not become a key because the lock understands it. Function comes from design. And you were designed. You were not thrown together. You were not manufactured by chaos. You were not assembled by people's expectations. God put something in you that existed before they ever had the language to explain you. That is why some people can be around you and still not recognize you. They can know your history and not know your destiny. They can know your habits and not know your calling. They can know your struggle and not know your design. People can see your behavior, but God sees your design. People can judge your season, but God knows your end. People can question your path, but God authorized your purpose. Now hear me carefully. This does not mean you reject counsel. This does not mean you despise wisdom. That is foolishness, not faith. People can recognize your assignment. People can confirm your assignment. People can sharpen your assignment. People can help mature your character so you can carry your assignment without destroying yourself. God will send mentors, builders, fathers, mothers, leaders, friends, and voices of correction. But confirmation is not origination. Recognition is not ownership. Counsel is not creation. There is a difference between someone confirming what God put in you and someone trying to become the source of what God put in you. There is a difference between a builder who sharpens you and a critic who demands that you reduce the blueprint until it fits their insecurity. There is a difference between godly covering and emotional control. There is a difference between wisdom and permission addiction. And many of you have confused the two because you were taught that obedience must always be comfortable to the people around you. No. Sometimes obedience will disturb them because it exposes how much they benefited from your confusion. Sometimes obedience will disappoint them because your clarity makes you unavailable for manipulation. Sometimes obedience will make them question you because they prefer the version of you that acts before moving, apologizes before growing, and explains before obeying. But you must understand this. Their discomfort is not always your disobedience. Their resistance is not always a warning from God. Sometimes their resistance is proof that you have stopped living from their definition. This is why outsourced identity is dangerous. When your identity is outsourced, your obedience becomes negotiable. When people become the source of your name, they become the ceiling of your future. If they call you small, you will apologize for increase. If they call you common, you will be ashamed of distinction. If they call you late, you will rush the process. If they call you unqualified, you will bury the gift. That is a lie from the pit of hell, designed to make you abandon divine design for public acceptance. You were not born to be a copy of their comfort. You were not born to be a monument to their expectations. You were not born to spend your entire life standing in front of people saying, please tell me I am allowed to be what God created. That is not humility. That is identity confusion. Humility submits to God. Fear submits to everybody. Humility receives correction. Fear begs for approval. Humility says, Lord, shake me. Fear says, people, define me. The reason you keep explaining is because you forgot the source. That is the root. That is the nerve. That is the place where the issue is hiding. You are not explaining because they need all that information. You are explaining because something in you is still asking, am I allowed? You are explaining because you have treated their understanding like a license. You are explaining because you have let their silence feel like rejection and their questions feel like disqualification. But when you remember the source, you stop begging the system for what the Creator already supplied. If God gave it, why are you acting like people must validate it before you begin? If God designed it, why are you waiting for people who did not create you to certify it? If God authorized your purpose, why are you standing before people like they are the approval board of heaven? They are not. They may have opinions, but they are not the manufacturer. They may have concerns, but they are not the creator. They may have questions, but they are not the source. So stand in identity, not arrogance, identity, not rebellion, identity, not isolation, identity. Know who made you. Know what He placed in you. Know that the assignment that came from God does not require permission from people who did not create you. And once that truth settles in your spirit, explanation loses its power over you. You stop performing for acceptance. You stop apologizing for obedience. You stop shrinking the blueprint to satisfy people who were never assigned to build it. You become rooted, steady, disciplined, and free. Now, here is where explanation becomes dangerous. Explanation is not evil. Explanation has a place. Clarity is necessary when responsibility is involved. Clarity honors covenant. Clarity brings order where confusion could create damage. Clarity says what needs to be said to the people who need to hear it at the level they are mature enough to carry. But bondage is different. Bondage keeps talking after truth has already been spoken. Bondage keeps explaining after obedience has already been required. Bondage keeps adjusting the language until insecure people feel comfortable with a command they did not hear. You must know the difference. Clarity communicates what is necessary. Bondage performs until everybody is comfortable. Clarity serves truth. Bondage serves fear. Clarity gives information. Bondage asks for permission. Clarity is clean. Bondage is exhausting. And some of you are tired, not because the assignment is too heavy, but because explaining it to the wrong people has drained the strength you were supposed to use obeying it. Let me tell you something plainly. When explanation delays obedience, it is no longer communication. It is captivity. It may sound responsible. It may look humble. It may even feel like you are being considerate. But if God told you to move, and you are still sitting in conversations trying to make everybody comfortable, you are not being considerate, you are being controlled. You are allowing the emotional temperature of people to become the traffic light of your destiny. Watch the pattern. First, you explain. Then they question. Then you defend. Then they criticize. Then you modify. Then they still are not satisfied. Then you apologize for the part of the assignment that made them uncomfortable. Then you slow down. Then you wait. Then you stop moving. And the tragedy is, nobody had to physically block you. Nobody had to take your gift. Nobody had to lock a door. They only had to keep you talking long enough for obedience to lose momentum. Obedience loses power when it becomes a debate with spectators. Write that in your spirit. Obedience loses power when it becomes a debate with spectators. Spectators have opinions about a race they are not running. Spectators have commentary about a weight they are not carrying. Spectators will tell you how to build something they have never had the courage to attempt. And if you keep turning your assignment into a public discussion, you will begin to treat spectators like supervisors. That is why approval addiction is so subtle. It does not always look like weakness. Sometimes it looks like being nice. Sometimes it looks like being available. Sometimes it looks like wanting peace. But underneath it, there is a need. You need your family to agree before you obey. You need your friends to celebrate before you start. You need your critics to soften before you continue. You need social media to validate what God whispered in private. You need everybody to say, I see it, before you believe what heaven already showed you. That is addiction. And addiction always creates bondage. If you need family agreement, family disagreement becomes a prison. If you need friends to celebrate, their silence becomes a prison. If you need critics to soften, their hardness becomes a prison. If you need social media to validate, the algorithm becomes your master. If you need everyone to say they see it, then blind people become responsible for your vision. That is not wisdom. That is slavery with a smile on its face. Stop right there. I know what you are thinking. But shouldn't people understand me? Shouldn't I care how my decisions affect others? Yes, you should care. Love is not reckless. Purpose is not an excuse to be rude, dishonorable, or irresponsible. But caring about people is not the same as being controlled by people. Honor is not the same as surrendering your assignment to their emotions. Peace is not the absence of their discomfort. Sometimes peace is the quiet confidence that you obeyed God even while they misunderstood you. You have to discern questions. Not every question deserves the same access. Some people ask because they want to understand. Some people ask because they want to help. Some people ask because they are assigned to sharpen you. But some people ask because they want access. Some ask because they want influence. Some ask because they want control. Some ask because if they can get you to explain long enough, they can find the weak place where your obedience still needs their approval. Do not be naive. The enemy does not always destroy purpose by attacking it. Sometimes he keeps purpose trapped in endless conversation. He will not always bring a storm. Sometimes he brings a discussion. He will not always bring an obvious temptation. Sometimes he brings a familiar voice saying, explain it one more time. And while you are explaining, the seed is not being planted. While you are defending, the door is not being entered. While you are apologizing, the work is not being done. While you are trying to make everybody feel safe, the assignment is losing time. There are people who do not want clarity. They want custody. They want to hold your process in their hands. They want to approve every step. Question every move, evaluate every change, and make you feel guilty for becoming someone they can no longer manage. And if you give them that power, do not blame them when you cannot move. You handed them the key. You gave them the chair. You made them the judge over what God made you responsible to obey. This is why you must break the habit of over-explaining. Say what needs to be said. Say it with honor. Say it with truth. Say it with maturity. Then move. Do not keep circling the same mountain because someone refuses to bless your obedience. Do not turn your assignment into a courtroom where you stand on trial every time you grow. Do not waste your oil proving to people that your lamp is real. Burn, shine, work, build, obey. The moment explanation starts replacing obedience, cut it off. The moment defending becomes more familiar than doing, correct yourself. The moment you realize you have spent more energy describing the assignment than developing it, repent and return to the work. Because God did not call you to become a professional explainer. He called you to be faithful. He called you to produce. He called you to steward what He placed in your hands. So receive this correction. Not every conversation is harmless. Not every explanation is wisdom. Not every question is innocent. And not every person who demands access to your reasons has earned access to your process. Once you understand that explanation can become bondage, you must become disciplined about access. You must learn who can handle the blueprint and who only wants to criticize the construction. You must learn who sharpens obedience and who drains it. Because the next level of freedom is not just knowing that God assigned you, it is knowing who deserves to stand close while you build. You must show the blueprint to builders, not critics. Hear that carefully. Your assignment does not need every opinion, it needs the right counsel. There is a difference between counsel and commentary. Counsel sharpens you. Commentary scatters you. Counsel brings order. Commentary brings noise. Counsel asks, what is required for you to obey this well? Commentary asks, who do you think you are? Counsel helps you carry the weight. Commentary makes you question whether you should carry it at all. And some of you have been calling commentary counsel because it came from familiar voices. Stop right there. Familiarity is not qualification. Just because they have known you for a long time does not mean they know what God is building in you now. Just because they were present in your past does not mean they are authorized for your process. Some people know the version of you that survived, but they do not have the discernment to steward the version of you that is being formed. Builders are different. Builders do not just inspect the blueprint so they can criticize the measurements. Builders bring tools. Builders bring wisdom. Builders bring correction without contamination. Builders do not flatter your insecurity, and they do not feed your fear. They ask what must be strengthened. They ask what must be removed. They ask what must be protected. They ask what obedience requires. A builder may correct you, but when a builder corrects you, you feel sharpened. When a critic corrects you, you feel scattered. Learn the difference. A builder can tell you the truth and still leave you with courage. A critic can tell you an opinion and leave you with confusion. A builder protects your process. A critic exposes your weakness. A builder covers what is still under construction. A critic takes what is unfinished and uses it as evidence that you should never have started. A builder sees potential and asks, how do we strengthen this? A critic sees potential and says, that will never work. They are not the same. This is why selective access is not arrogance. It is wisdom. Jesus loved the multitudes, but he did not give the multitudes the same access. He gave the 12. He taught crowds, but he walked with disciples. He healed many, but he explained certain things privately. And even among the 12, there were moments when he took only Peter, James, and John. Now, if the Son of God practiced selective access, why do you think everybody deserves equal entrance into your inner process? Don't misunderstand me. This is not hatred. This is not bitterness. This is not isolation. This is order. Love can be wide while access remains narrow. You can love people and still not give them the blueprint. You can honor people and still not hand them the details. You can forgive people and still not allow them into the room where God is forming your future. Access is not proof of love. Access is proof of assignment. Some people are assigned to your compassion, but not your construction. Some people are assigned to receive kindness from you, but not strategy from you. Some people are assigned to hear your public fruit, but not your private instructions. You must stop confusing love with unlimited access. Love everybody. Trust selectively, serve with humility, build with discernment. Because immature openness can destroy sacred momentum. When something is still forming, it is vulnerable. A seed is alive, but if you keep digging it up to prove it is growing, you kill it. A baby in the womb is real, but it is not ready for the public atmosphere. Roots are powerful, but they do their best work under the ground. And some of you keep exposing what God is still rooting because you want people to celebrate it before it has strength. That is dangerous. There are people who leak your confidence because they cannot carry the weight of your becoming. You leave their presence less certain, less focused, less obedient, and more apologetic. You told them what God put in your heart, and now you are explaining yourself to yourself. You were clear before the conversation, now you are confused. You were courageous before the conversation, now you are afraid. You were moving before the conversation, now you are comparing. That is not counsel, that is contamination. Here is the filter. If their words consistently produce fear, confusion, comparison, or apology, they are not assigned to the inner room of your process. I don't care how long you have known them. I don't care what title they carry. I don't care how emotionally obligated you feel. If every time you share the assignment, you leave feeling smaller, weaker, delayed, and ashamed of your obedience, that person may deserve your love, but they do not deserve your blueprint. Your inner room must be guarded. Not everybody gets to sit there. Not everybody gets to speak there. Not everybody gets to handle what God has entrusted to you. The inner room is for builders, not spectators. It is for wise counsel, not restless commentary. It is for those who can correct without crushing, challenge without controlling, and sharpen without stealing your courage. And let me tell you something else. Critics often demand explanations they are not qualified to receive. They want the details, but they have no discipline. They want the strategy, but they have no stewardship. They want access to the blueprint, but they have never built anything that required faith, patience, sacrifice, and obedience. Do not hand sacred instructions to people who only know how to turn holy things into arguments. You need builders who sharpen obedience. You need people who say, if God told you, let us make sure your character can carry it. You need people who say, let us strengthen the foundation. You need people who say, let us protect the timing. You need people who help you obey with wisdom, not perform with fear. That is the difference between a builder and a critic. A builder makes obedience stronger. A critic makes obedience defensive. So stop calling everybody close just because they are familiar. Stop giving access to people because you feel guilty. Stop opening the blueprint to those who only want to debate the design. Guard your process like your life depends on it. Because it does. Guard your words. Guard your plans. Guard your energy. Guard the early stages of what God is building in you. And once you restrict access, you must learn the next discipline. You must stop performing your progress for people who only respect finished results. Because some people cannot honor roots. They only clap for fruit. They do not understand preparation. They only understand presentation. So if you keep trying to prove progress before the fruit is mature, you will keep performing for people who were never assigned to water the seed. Build quietly. Grow deeply. Let the builders close. Keep the critics at a distance. And prepare yourself, because private obedience is stronger than public approval. Private obedience is stronger than public approval. Hear me carefully. I did not say public fruit is evil. I did not say testimony is wrong. I did not say you must hide forever. I said do not announce what has not yet grown roots. There is a difference between hiding in fear and building in wisdom. There is a difference between secrecy and stewardship. There is a difference between prideful isolation and protected preparation. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not cowardice. Silence is not shame. Silence is the workshop where assignment gains weight. The world does not understand silence because the world is addicted to announcement. The world says post it. The world says prove it. The world says defend it. The world says explain it before they misunderstand it. But the kingdom says obey. The kingdom says build. The kingdom says mature. The kingdom says let the fruit speak in season. Noise wants a reaction today. Purpose wants a harvest tomorrow. Noise is impatient. Purpose is discipline. Noise needs witnesses. Purpose needs roots. And this is where many people destroy what God is trying to develop. They announce it too early. They show it too early. They rehearse it too often in the ears of people who are not responsible for their obedience. Stop rehearsing your destiny in the ears of people who are not responsible for your obedience. Stop giving speeches about what you are going to do while neglecting the discipline required to become the person who can do it. Shut the door and build. Close the window and build. Turn down the noise and build. Let your obedience become more consistent than your explanation. A seed does not explain itself underground. A seed does not call a meeting with the soil and say, let me tell you what I am becoming. A seed does not ask the darkness to understand it. A seed does not argue with pressure. A seed submits to the process. It disappears before it appears. It goes down before it comes up. It is covered before it is crowned. It is hidden before it is harvested. And if the seed refuses the hidden place because it wants applause, it will never become the fruit it was designed to produce. That is why premature exposure is dangerous. Some dreams do not die because they were attacked. Some dreams die because they were applauded too early. Applause can intoxicate an immature assignment. Praise can make you perform before you are prepared. Attention can make you decorate a foundation that has not been strengthened. And if you start living for applause in the seed stage, you will not have the patience for the root stage. You will keep pulling yourself out of the soil to see who is clapping. Let me tell you something. Roots are not impressive, but they're necessary. Nobody applauds roots. Nobody takes pictures of roots. Nobody celebrates roots. But fruit without roots is temporary. Height without depth is dangerous. Visibility without capacity is a setup for collapse. The higher the tree is called to grow, the deeper the roots must be willing to go. So if God has you hidden, do not curse the soil. If God has you covered, do not despise the darkness. If God has you in a season where nobody sees the work, understand this: hidden does not mean forgotten. God is not ignoring you in the private place. God is forming you. God is building capacity. God is increasing weight. God is developing the discipline that public impact will require. You think nothing is happening because nobody is applauding. That is a lie. The most important things are often happening where nobody can see. Bones grow in hidden places. Character grows in hidden places. Conviction grows in hidden places. Wisdom grows in hidden places. The anointing you want to display publicly must be disciplined privately, or it will crush you when people finally notice it. Do not confuse visibility with progress. Some people are visible and empty. Some people are applauded and unstable. Some people are known by crowds but unknown to themselves. Public approval can make you famous without making you fruitful. It can make you loud without making you mature. It can make you celebrated without making you submitted. But private obedience does something approval cannot do. It builds your inner man. It trains your appetite. It purifies your motive. It teaches you to obey when nobody is watching, when nobody is clapping, when nobody is impressed, and when nobody even knows the sacrifice you are making. That is real strength. Strength is not always shouting. Strength is not always explaining. Strength is not always correcting everybody's opinion of you. Sometimes strength is silence. Sometimes strength is restraint. Sometimes strength is letting people think you are doing nothing while you are obeying God daily. Sometimes strength is refusing to advertise a thing that still needs to be rooted. You do not owe the public a progress report on every private instruction God gave you. Stop measuring obedience by reaction. If they clap, obey. If they do not clap, obey. If they understand, obey. If they misunderstand, obey. If they support you, obey. If they ignore you, obey. Your assignment cannot be built on the emotional weather of people. One day they celebrate you. The next day they question you. One day they say you are courageous. The next day they say you have changed. If your obedience depends on their response, your assignment will never have stability. This is why silence protects you. Silence protects the seed from careless hand. Silence protects the dream from polluted mouths. Silence protects your focus from premature warfare. Silence protects your motive from becoming performance. When you announce too early, you invite opinions into a stage that needed discipline. You invite pressure into a stage that needed patience. You invite comparison into a stage that needed consecration. But when you build quietly, you allow the assignment to gain weight before it carries visibility. And once you accept private obedience, something in you gets healed. You stop being wounded by people who misread your hidden season. You stop bleeding every time someone says, "What are you doing with your life?" You stop panicking because they cannot see your progress. You stop needing them to recognize roots. You understand that some people only know how to honor fruit, and that is all right. Let them wait for fruit. Let them misunderstand the soil. Let them misread the silence. Let them think nothing is happening. You are not responsible for making your hidden season comfortable for people who do not understand process. So build. Build when it is quiet. Build when it is lonely. Build when it is slow. Build when nobody asks. Build when nobody notices. Build when they think you disappeared. Build when they think you failed. Build when all you have is a word from God and a discipline nobody sees. Because when the fruit comes, you will not have to explain the seed. When the harvest comes, you will not have to defend the soil. When the assignment matures, your life will speak with a weight that your mouth could never manufacture. Private obedience is stronger than public approval, because approval can only respond to what is visible, but obedience forms what is valuable. Approval is a sound. Obedience is a foundation. Approval is temporary. Obedience is eternal. Approval may encourage you, but obedience establishes you. So do not announce what has not grown roots. Do not expose what still needs covering. Do not perform what still needs preparation. Shut the door and build. Obey in private. Mature in silence. Let the roots go deep. And when the season is right, the fruit will make the announcement. And now you must understand this. You are not required to make your process comfortable for them. You are not required to explain every silence, defend every distance, justify every season, or translate every instruction God gives you into language that makes insecure people feel safe. Some of you are losing strength because you are trying to obey God and manage everybody's emotional reaction to your obedience at the same time. That is too much weight. God did not assign you to carry the assignment and carry everybody's discomfort with the assignment. There will be people who call you distant when you are focused. Let them. There will be people who call you prideful when you are healing. Let them. There will be people who call you secretive when you are protecting purpose. Let them. There will be people who call you strange when you are obeying God. Let them. You cannot keep abandoning your process every time somebody misnames your discipline. If they do not understand focus, they will call it distance. If they do not understand healing, they will call it pride. If they do not understand stewardship, they will call it secrecy. If they do not understand obedience, they will call it strange. Stop right there. I know what you are thinking. So am I allowed to be rude? Am I allowed to ignore people? Am I allowed to become arrogant and unteachable? No, that is not what I am saying. Purpose is not permission to dishonor people. Assignment is not an excuse for arrogance. Silence is not a license to be cruel. If you are wrong, be corrected. If you cause damage, take responsibility. If you need counsel, receive it. But listen carefully. Being humble does not mean explaining yourself to everyone who's uncomfortable with your growth. Being teachable does not mean surrendering your obedience to every opinion. Being loving does not mean bleeding energy into conversations that do not produce obedience. Some conversations are not designed to bring clarity. They are designed to drain conviction. Some questions are not asked because people want understanding. They are asked because people want access to the old version of you. And you must become emotionally disciplined enough to know when guilt is trying to pull you out of your assignment. Guilt will say, explain it again. Guilt will say, make them comfortable. Guilt will say, go back to the way you were so they do not feel rejected. But conviction says, obey. Conviction says, stay focused. Conviction says, let the process finish what God started. The process is not punishment, it is preparation. The silence is not abandonment, it is alignment. The isolation is not rejection, it is refinement. What feels like distance may be discipline. What feels like loneliness may be consecration. What feels like delay may be God deepening the roots before He raises the branches. You are not stuck. You are being structured. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. You are not behind. You are being prepared for weight. A pregnant woman does not hand the child in her womb to every person who is curious. She carries what is developing with care. She protects it. She adjusts her appetite, her environment, her movements, and her relationships, because what is forming inside her has not yet developed the strength to survive careless handling. And some of you are carrying something from God, but you keep letting everybody touch it with their opinions, their fears, their projections, and their unbelief. Then you wonder why you feel exhausted. You are allowing public pressure to handle private formation. A seed is the same way. A seed cannot be exposed too early and still become what it was designed to be. If you keep digging it up to prove it is alive, you destroy the very process that gives it strength. If you keep exposing the root before the root is ready, you interrupt the future harvest. Some things must be covered before they can be crowned. Some things must be hidden before they can be revealed. Some things must be protected before they can be presented. Early exposure can invite pressure before purpose has strength. And here is the trap you must name. People who benefited from your confusion may resist your clarity. People who enjoyed your availability may resent your boundaries. People who liked you uncertain may feel threatened when you become convinced. People who could access you anytime may call you different when obedience changes your schedule, your speech, your circle, and your priorities. Do not be shocked when your clarity offends people who are comfortable with your confusion. That does not make them your enemy. It just means your growth is changing their access. And when access changes, some people grieve the control they used to have. They may not say it like that. They may call it concern. They may call it love. They may call it, I just miss the old you. But sometimes what they miss is the version of you that had no boundaries, no focus, no conviction, and no courage to obey God without asking permission. You do not owe everyone an explanation for the process God is using to prepare you. Say that until it enters your bones. You do not owe everyone an explanation for the process God is using to prepare you. You owe God obedience. You owe your assignment discipline. You owe your future stewardship. You owe the people truly assigned to you honesty and honor. But you do not owe every uncomfortable person a seat in the room where God is forming you. So stop apologizing for the season that is saving your life. Stop shrinking because people are confused by your concentration. Stop returning to old patterns just because your growth makes others uncomfortable. Let them misunderstand the silence. Let them misread the focus. Let them question the process. You keep obeying. You keep healing. You keep building. You keep becoming. Because when misunderstanding no longer controls you, boundaries become sacred. Not selfish, sacred. When guilt no longer governs you, boundaries become protection. When approval no longer owns you, boundaries become wisdom. And if the assignment is holy, then the space around it must be guarded. Boundaries are sacred when the assignment is holy. Hear that carefully. A boundary is not rejection. A boundary is stewardship. A boundary is the fence around what God made you responsible to protect. If God gave you an assignment, He also gave you the responsibility to guard the environment where that assignment can grow. You cannot leave holy things unprotected and then blame people for mishandling what you never guarded. Some of you have been taught that boundaries are unloving. That is a lie designed to keep you exhausted, available, distracted, and guilty. Boundaries are not hatred. Boundaries are not pride. Boundaries are not punishment. Boundaries are order. Even Eden had borders. Even the temple had courts. Even Jesus withdrew from crowds. Love does not mean everybody gets the same access. Love does not mean everybody gets your time, your explanation, your energy, your plans, your emotions, and your obedience. Love can be pure and still have a gate. You must stop confusing love with unlimited access. You can love people deeply and still deny them the right to manage your obedience. You can honor people and still tell them no. You can serve people and still refuse to be drained by them. You can forgive people and still not give them the keys to your inner life. Forgiveness restores your heart. It does not automatically restore access. Love is a command. Access is a responsibility. Peace is better than popularity. Obedience is better than approval. Focus is better than constant availability. Discipline is better than being liked by people who benefit from your disorder. You cannot fulfill a divine assignment while being emotionally governed by everybody's expectations. If your phone controls your focus, you are not free. If every invitation controls your calendar, you are not free. If every opinion controls your confidence, you are not free. If every disappointed person can make you abandon conviction, you are not walking in boundaries. You are walking in bondage. Let me tell you where your power is leaking. It is leaking in the places where you keep defending what God already made clear. You are defending your schedule. You are defending your standards. You are defending your calling. You are defending your growth. You are defending your no. You explain why you cannot come. You explain why you will not compromise. You explain why you are changing. You explain why you need silence. You explain why you are not available like you used to be. And after all that explaining, you are still misunderstood, but now you are tired. Stop spending holy energy trying to make disobedient people comfortable with your obedience. Answer with clarity, not apology. Speak with honor, not fear. Provide what is necessary, not what insecurity demands. You do not have to be rude. You do not have to be cold. You do not have to be dramatic. Just be clear. I cannot do that. That does not align with this season. I am not available for that conversation. I need to protect my focus. I will not be able to participate. Say it with peace. Say it with honor. Say it without begging them to approve the boundary. Because every yes has a cost. Do not forget that. Every yes takes time from something. Every yes gives energy to something. Every yes opens a door to something. And when you say yes to people who drain the assignment, you may be saying no to the purpose God gave you. When you say yes to constant access, you may be saying no to private preparation. When you say yes to guilt, you may be saying no to conviction. When you say yes to being liked, you may be saying no to being formed. Every yes is not innocent. Some yeses are expensive. You must ask yourself, what is this yes costing my assignment? Not just will they be upset. Not just will they understand. Not just will they still like me. That is immature thinking. The question is, will this yes strengthen obedience or weaken it? Will this yes protect purpose or drain it? Will this yes honor God's instruction or just soothe somebody's insecurity? If the yes costs you your peace, your focus, your discipline, your consecration, and your obedience, that yes is too expensive. And some of you are bankrupt in your spirit because you keep spending yourself on people God never assigned you to satisfy. You are tired because you keep trying to be available to everyone and obedient to God at the same time. But constant availability is not holiness. Sometimes constant availability is fear-wearing religious clothing. You are afraid they will think you are selfish. You are afraid they will think you have changed. You are afraid they will leave. You are afraid they will talk. But you cannot protect an assignment with a spirit of fear. Boundaries require courage. Boundaries require identity. Boundaries require you to know who sent you, what he gave you, and what he will require from you. The person who does not know their assignment will give their life to every demand. But the person who understands assignment begins to measure access by purpose. They do not ask, who wants me? They ask, what is God requiring? They do not ask, who is upset? They ask, what must be protected? That is maturity. Do not let people shame you for guarding what they are not responsible to finish. They will not answer to God for your assignment. You will. They will not carry the consequences of your distraction. You will. They will not stand before the Creator and explain why you wasted the thing He placed in your hands. You will. So stop handing the steering wheel of your obedience to people who will not stand in your place when accountability comes. Guard your mornings. Guard your mind. Guard your standards. Guard your conversations. Guard your inner circle. Guard your yes. Guard your no. Guard the place where God speaks to you. Guard the discipline that keeps you aligned. Guard the assignment before it becomes public enough for people to respect it. The fence is not there because you hate outsiders. The fence is there because what is inside has value. And once boundaries are established, stop arguing, stop defending, stop trying to prove the holiness of the fence to people committed to trespassing. Build inside the boundary. Grow inside the boundary. Obey inside the boundary. Let the protected place produce visible fruit. Because the assignment is not proven by how many arguments you win. It is proven by what your obedience produces. Your fruit will explain what your mouth could not. Your fruit will explain what your mouth could not. Hear me now. There are some explanations that will never be accepted until they become evidence. There are some people who will never honor your process, but they will have to acknowledge your fruit. There are some critics who will never understand the seed, never respect the soil, never value the hidden season, never celebrate the roots. But when the tree begins to bear fruit, their arguments lose their strength. That is why maturity stops arguing endlessly and starts producing. Immaturity defends itself all day. Maturity demonstrates. Immaturity needs to win the conversation. Maturity wins through consistency. Immaturity keeps saying, let me explain. Maturity says, watch the fruit, not in pride, not in arrogance, not in revenge, but in confidence. Because a God-given assignment does not need to be proven by noise. It will be proven by fruit. Fruit does not shout. Fruit does not negotiate. Fruit does not beg for recognition. Fruit does not stand in the marketplace arguing with people about whether the tree is alive. Fruit simply appears. And when fruit appears, it reveals the health of the root. You do not have to hold an apple in your hand and scream, this came from an apple tree. The fruit testifies. The fruit identifies the source. The fruit reveals what was happening underground when nobody believed anything was happening at all. That is the principle. The root works in silence, but the fruit speaks in public. The root is hidden, but the fruit is visible. The root is ignored, but the fruit is undeniable. And some of you have been exhausting yourself trying to explain roots to people who only understand fruit. Stop it. Let them wait. Let them wonder. Let them misunderstand. Let them talk. Keep watering the root. Keep protecting the soil. Keep obeying the instruction. Keep showing up when nobody claps. Keep doing the private work until public fruit becomes the explanation. You cannot argue people into honoring what only fruit can prove. Some people are not going to respect your words. They will only respect outcomes. They will not respect your calling until they see capacity. They will not respect your discipline until they see results. They will not respect your silence until they see strength. They will not respect your obedience until they see impact. Do not become bitter about that. Just become fruitful. But let me correct something. Before pride enters the room, do not build to prove your haters wrong. That is still bondage. If your critics are the fuel, your critics are still in control. If their doubt is what makes you disciplined, then their opinion is still your master. If your whole motivation is, I'm going to show them, then you are not free. You have simply turned pain into performance. That is not kingdom. That is not obedience. That is wounded ambition wearing religious language. You do not build because they doubted you. You build because God assigned you. You do not obey because they mocked you. You obey because the Creator has a right to require fruit from what He planted. You do not become disciplined because somebody underestimated you. You become disciplined because destiny demands management. The goal is not revenge. The goal is responsibility. The goal is not to embarrass your enemies. The goal is to glorify the one who trusted you with purpose. Stop making your critics the center of your obedience. They did not create you. They did not call you. They did not design the assignment. They are not the manufacturer. They do not own the manual. So why are they becoming the motivation? That is dangerous. Because if you build for applause, applause owns you. If you build for revenge, offense owns you. If you build for validation, people own you. But if you build for obedience, God governs you. And the person governed by God is free. Kingdom fruit is not about being seen. It is about being useful. It is not about popularity. It is about impact. It is not about applause. It is about dominion through service. Dominion does not mean controlling people. Dominion means managing your gifts so well that what God placed in you solves problems, lifts burdens, creates order, serves humanity, and reflects the nature of the King. A fruitful life is not a loud life. A fruitful life is a useful life. Do not confuse attention with fruit. Many people have attention and no fruit. Many people have platforms and no roots. Many people have followers and no follow through. Many people are visible but not valuable. Fruit is not noise. Fruit is not image. Fruit is not performance. Fruit is measurable transformation. Fruit is character under pressure. Fruit is consistency over time. Fruit is peace that cannot be manipulated. Fruit is service that makes things better because you were there. Your consistency will answer. Your character will answer. Your results will answer. Your peace will answer. Your discipline will answer. Your transformed life will answer. Your children will answer. Your work will answer. Your decisions will answer. Your growth will answer. Your stability will answer. Your fruit will stand up in rooms your explanations could never enter. There will come a time when you will not need to say, I was obeying God. The fruit will say it. You will not need to say, I was not wasting time. The fruit will say it. You will not need to say, the hidden season was necessary. The fruit will say it. You will not need to say, the boundary was wisdom. The fruit will say it. You will not need to say, the silence was not weakness. The fruit will say it with a volume your mouth could never manufacture. So stop fighting every voice. Stop answering every accusation. Stop correcting every misunderstanding. Stop spending your strength on people who are committed to misreading you. Take that energy and put it into obedience. Take that focus and put it into discipline. Take that pain and put it into prayer. Take that pressure and put it into preparation. Build until the evidence speaks louder than the explanation. Because the strongest explanation of a God-given assignment is fruit produced through disciplined obedience. Not excuses, not speeches, not announcements, not emotional defenses. Fruit. Fruit that remains. Fruit that serves. Fruit that heals. Fruit that reveals the wisdom of the process. Fruit that proves the root was alive even when the ground looked silent. Now you must decide. Are you going to keep defending the assignment? Or are you going to start living it? Are you going to keep arguing with critics? Or are you going to produce fruit? Are you going to keep asking to be understood? Or are you going to obey with disciplined focus until your life becomes the answer? Because at some point, you must stop explaining the seed and become the tree. So now, the question is not whether you understood the message. The question is whether you will obey it. Because revelation without obedience becomes entertainment. Truth without application becomes religion. Conviction without movement becomes another moment you felt something but changed nothing. And I did not come to stir your emotions. I came to confront the thing that has been holding your assignment hostage. Your assignment came from God. That means it did not begin in the committee of human opinion. It did not begin in the approval of your family. It did not begin in the applause of your friends. It did not begin in the comment section, the boardroom, the platform, or the crowd. It began in the mind of the Creator before anybody had the vocabulary to criticize it. So why are you still asking people to authorize what God already assigned? Stop right there. I know what you are thinking, but I just want people to understand. No, sometimes you do not want understanding. Sometimes you want permission. Sometimes you want someone to make obedience feel less lonely. Sometimes you keep explaining because if they agree, you will finally feel safe enough to do what God already told you to do. That is bondage. When explanation delays obedience, it is no longer communication. It is captivity. You have learned the progression now. The assignment came from God. Explanation can become bondage. Access must be selective. Silence protects development. Boundaries guard purpose. Fruit becomes the answer. These are not nice ideas. These are requirements for carrying weight. You cannot give everybody access to the blueprint. You cannot announce every seed before it has roots. You cannot let guilt govern your calendar. You cannot let critics manage your courage. You cannot keep defending the thing you were born to live. You are not here to be managed by fear. You are not here to be delayed by opinions. You are not here to be reduced by people who cannot discern what God placed inside you. You are not here to spend your life translating divine instructions for people who have no intention of obeying anything themselves. You are here to fulfill purpose. You are here to bear fruit. You are here to become what the manufacturer designed you to be. And freedom begins when obedience to God becomes more important than being understood by everyone. That is the place of maturity. That is the place of power. That is the place where you stop trembling every time somebody questions you. That is the place where you stop shrinking every time somebody misreads you. That is the place where you stop returning to old patterns, because new obedience makes old company uncomfortable. Start right now. Start where you are. Start with what you have. Start without the applause. Start without the apology. Start before they clap. Start before they understand. Start before the door opens. Start before the evidence is visible. Start with discipline. Start with prayer. Start with the one instruction you keep delaying. Start with the boundary you keep avoiding. Start with the private work you keep postponing because nobody is watching. This week, identify the one area where you have been explaining because you are afraid to obey. Name it. Do not spiritualize it. Do not decorate it. Do not hide it behind wisdom when it is really fear. Is it the business? Is it the ministry? Is it the book? Is it the healing? Is it the boundary? Is it the relationship you must leave? Is it the discipline you must begin? Is it the conversation you must stop having? Find a place where your mouth has been busy because your feet have been still. Then choose action over defense. Do not say, I am waiting for the right time when God already gave instruction. Do not say, I need one more confirmation when confirmation has become your excuse for cowardice. Do not say, I just need them to understand, when understanding has become your idol. You do not need everybody to agree before you obey. You need courage. You need identity. You need discipline. You need to remember who sent you. If this word has helped you return to your assignment, receive it. Share it with someone who has been trapped in explanation. And subscribe only if you are committed to growing in kingdom identity, discipline, and purpose. Not entertainment, not noise, not emotional excitement without transformation. Commitment. Because this is not about hearing another message. This is about becoming the kind of person who can carry what God placed inside you. And I want you to make a declaration. Comment, I choose obedience over approval. Then write the truth you are choosing to believe, apply, or live out according to God's original purpose for your life. Not according to fear, not according to pressure, not according to the old version of you, according to purpose, according to design, according to the assignment that existed before their opinion arrived. Now listen to me as we close. Stop explaining, stop shrinking, stop begging people to understand what God did not assign them to manage. Stop waiting for permission from people who did not create you. Obey God. Guard the process. Build in silence. Protect your peace. Choose your builders. Establish your boundaries. Produce fruit. Let your consistency preach. Let your discipline testify. Let your transformed life become the evidence. The seed does not argue with the soil. The tree does not apologize for growing. The fruit does not beg to be believed. It simply becomes. So stop defending the seed and become the tree. Obey God and let your life speak.